A historical trilateral summit with the U.S., Japan, and South Korea has ended with a security pact and the pledge to step up cooperation in other key areas. The meeting was hosted at Camp David, President Biden's woodland retreat. It took place against the backdrop of North Korea's missile program and China enforcing its maritime claims in the South China Sea.
A new era of partnership between the U.S., Japan, and South Korea. Closing words from President Biden, who hosted his first summit at Camp David. The allies agreed to strengthen ties across key areas such as security, the economy, and technology as tensions simmer in the Indo-Pacific region.
I want to start by expressing that our world stands at an inflection point, a point where we're called to lead in new ways, to work together, to stand together. And today I'm proud to say our nations are answering that call.
A call that's eased a diplomatic deadlock between Japan and South Korea. Relations between the two neighbors have been fraught for decades, scarred by Japan's military occupation before and during World War II. But growing threats from regional rivals China and North Korea have pushed the two to open a new chapter. Biden praised his counterparts for their political courage while stating that Beijing was not the focus of the summit.
Both them and China obviously came up. Not to say we don't share concerns about the economic coercion or heightened tensions caused by China, but this summit was really about our relationship with each other and deepening cooperation across an entire range of issues that went well beyond just the immediate issues we raised. It was about more peaceful and prosperous Indo-Pacific.
During the historic meeting, China responded with a call for peace in the region and denounced geopolitical competition.
The attempt to piece together various exclusive small groups to bring confrontation and military groups into the Asia-Pacific region is unpopular and is bound to lead to opposition from regional countries.
Back at Camp David, the trio announced they will hold joint annual military exercises and establish a crisis hotline, a turning point in relations that could test a region already fraught with tension.
DW reporter Clifford Coonan lived and worked in China for 15 years and joins me now. Clifford, the U.S. president hails this agreement as the beginning of a new era. Your thoughts?
Well, I think the choice of Camp David is very significant. That's where the U.S. government does big deals. We had the Israel-Egypt peace deal was brokered there in the 70s. Back during World War II, Franklin D. Roosevelt hosted Winston Churchill there. It's always had that kind of status, and I think there's an important message by having this in Camp David that the U.S. wants to nail down this very, very important regional partnership with two of its great allies in the region, Japan and South Korea, who haven't always seen eye to eye, but in this case, they now have sort of a common adversary, maybe enemy is too strong, in China and also with North Korea.
To have Japan and South Korea come together like this was something many people thought impossible just a few short years ago. What changed?
Yeah, I mean, this week marks 78 years since the ending of Japan's colonization of South Korea. So it's a big week, and they've had a lot of issues. They also had issues about sex slavery during the Second World War, and a lot of residual issues from that, and trade difficulties down the years. But I think what's brought them together is, first of all, that China has emerged as a major influence in the region, and also North Korea. The missiles that are being tested are flying into the Sea of Japan. They're flying over Japanese territory. Japan is extremely worried about North Korea, and obviously South Korea is bordering North Korea, and it's still technically in a state of war. There's only an armistice, not a peace deal, between the two Koreas. So I think these factors have brought them together and allowed them to see beyond their differences.
We heard the U.S. president there stressing that China was definitely not the target here, but undoubtedly an increasingly bellicose Beijing must have been looming over these entire talks. You lived and worked in China for many years. Do you believe that this show of unity will deter Beijing or further harden Xi Jinping's military muscle?
I think definitely the Chinese are very annoyed about this because keeping Japan and South Korea separate is in China's interest. In terms of building up its military, if we look at the spending in the Chinese military budget, a lot of it has been on building up its blue water navy, which is for in the region, and a lot of its focus is areas in the South China Sea, but also areas contested by South Korea and North Korea. And it's also seen as an ally of North Korea. So definitely, I think this is something that Beijing will not see as something in its favor.
Clifford Coonan, thank you so much.